Yo, what is going on, everybody? We are live, or at least we should be live. Y'all let me know if you can hear me okay, and let me know if you can see me okay. You already know we got to do our sound checks before we get started. Because me and technology don't mix sometimes. But we should be live right now on YouTube, on Rockfin, and on Rumble, I think. Rumble be giving me problems. So I hope we're live on Rumble, and we should be also live on X. So let me know in the comments if you guys can hear me okay. Let me know where you're listening from. And we'll go ahead and get this show on the road. Do some shout outs too. There we go. Ooh. Y'all like this video, make sure you like and share. Like and share. It really does help. Helps us in the algorithm, especially when y'all like it. Ooh, that was not what I wanted to do. Especially when y'all like the video, comment, spam it. I don't care. Just as long as more people can see. All right. Good. Y'all can hear me? Bet. Awesome. Thank you all so much for tuning into this live stream segment of For the People podcast. And I am, of course, your humble host, Niko House. We have a great show today. We're going to be talking about Trump's recent comments where he said that he plans on, or at least has not ruled out, running a third term. And actually, based off of what he said, it actually sounds like he's dead ass serious about running for a third term as president of the United States. As you could probably guess, it's probably going to run into some complications regarding that. So we're going to dive into that because I actually think that there's some discussion to be had about that outside of just the Trump factor, because I have mixed feelings about terms in general. So we're going to talk about that. We're also going to talk about the fact that Zelensky looks like he is killing this minerals deal, and Trump is pissed about it. But simultaneously, Trump is also pissed because Putin came after Zelensky, which, I mean, Putin always comes after Zelensky, and I seriously doubt that's why Zelensky is killing the deal. I'm explaining y'all why Zelensky is killing the deal. But we're going to take a look even deeper into that because amongst this conversation about the minerals deal, there has been this discourse that this minerals deal is supposed to be a way to recoup on the investment the United States has made in Ukraine during this war against Russia. When after doing some more research, I think that that's actually off. I don't think it has anything to do with recouping on our investment. I think it's something a little bit deeper than that Trump is paying attention to, because when you really think about it, like we're going to talk about it during that. We're going to talk about it during that segment, excuse me. But when you really think about it, like, I'm not exactly sure how a minerals deal between the United States and Ukraine is somehow supposed to bring peace to Russia and Ukraine, right? It doesn't really make any sense when you actually think about it. So we're going to get into that. And then I have a special third story and a preview of my hotspot video for those of you who stick around. So you guys stick around for that. Don't worry, we're not going to take too long for us to get there because I got to coach soccer today. So, and my son got soccer practice too. So we're going to get this show on the road, man. So Trump has not ruled out a third term. And people thought he was joking. I probably would have thought he was joking too. And they were like, nope. He was like, nah, I'm dead ass serious. Hold on, let me pull this up for you guys. You know, you got to be careful because sometimes Trump will say stuff and you're like, oh man, he's just playing around. Yeah, nah, he ain't playing. He is not playing. So this is NBC News. Trump won't rule out seeking a third term in the White House, tells NBC News. There are methods for doing so. President Trump said in a Sunday morning phone call that he was not joking about third term, adding that it is far too early to think about it. President Trump did not rule out the possibility of seeking a third term in the White House, which is prohibited by the Constitution under the 22nd Amendment, saying in an exclusive interview with NBC News that there are methods for doing so and clarifying that he was not joking. A lot of people want me to do it, Trump said in a Sunday morning phone call with NBC News, referring to his allies. But I mean, I basically tell them we have a long way to go. You know, it's very early in the administration. I'm focused on the current, Trump added, and some of his most extensive comments to date about serving a third term. When asked whether he wanted another term, the president responded, "I like working." I'm not joking, Trump said when asked to clarify, but I'm not. It is far too early to think about it. When asked whether he has been presented with plans to allow him to seek a third term, Trump said, "There are methods which you could do it." NBC News asked about a possible scenario where Vice President J.D. Vance would run for office and then pass the role to Trump. And Trump responded, "That's one." No, that's not a method, just to clarify. You can't do that. The 22nd Amendment pretty much makes it clear that if you have already been president, you can't, if you've ran twice, and if you ran twice already and won, or even if you replace somebody 2 years after, like 2 years after you've replaced them, if you spend more than 2 years in office, that counts as a full term, right? So even if he was to be VP, which I don't think he could do that under the 22nd Amendment because he's already served president twice, it would just skip him in succession and go to the next person in line. It wouldn't mean that he would be president. So just to clarify. Asked to share another method, Trump simply responded, "No." Now, amending the Constitution to abolish the two-term limit would be exceedingly difficult, requiring either a 2/3 vote of Congress or 2/3 of the states agreeing to call a constitutional convention and propose changes. Either route would then require ratification from 3/4 of the states. The president pointed to his poll numbers, saying that a lot of people would like me to hold office for a third term. Bro, I'm just saying, just because people like you doesn't mean that they want you to, shit on the Constitution. But I can't even honestly say that, right? Because we know a lot of people who like him that are perfectly fine with shitting on the Constitution when it's convenient for their side. So, now this is actually not the first time this conversation has been had, and Trump's allies have felt like this. Like they believe that through some mechanism, not necessarily legal or constitutional, that he could and should serve a third term. Actually, Steve Bannon, who is the mastermind behind this 2016 campaign, one of the reasons I always say that, like, his 2020 campaign wasn't as good. He was popular. I'm not going to lie and say he wasn't popular. He was popular. And obviously to some degree, he still is popular. But the reason he was so popular in 2016 was because Steve Bannon admitted he used a populist message with like from the left, but he framed it in a way that conservatives would receive it well. He basically said he copied Bernie, and Bernie basically copied Green Party and Jill Stein. So like he just took actual working class policies and framed them, had Trump frame them in the way that would be receptive to the eventual MAGA movement. So Steve Bannon actually said in 2021 that he acknowledged the limitations of the 22nd Amendment, but he speculated about ways that Trump could potentially extend his time in office behind a typical two-term. In 2021, he said Trump can find ways to continue influencing American politics, possibly even through a third term. He has often discussed the idea of Trump remaining a dominant figure in U.S. politics, even if the formal path for a third term is blocked by the 22nd Amendment. Now, he didn't say that he could legally run for a third term, but the fact that this was being discussed in 2021 means that there has been some serious conversations with the Trump team to stay in office. And I don't know about forever, but at least for a third term. Now, I just don't like for Trump. That's not a good idea. You shouldn't even try that. I don't know what you were thinking by saying that, but Like, I don't know why you're giving these Democrats ammo, because they already calling you a dictator. They're already calling you every name under the sun. Why are you gonna give the Democrats ammo? It doesn't make any sense. You can't do, like, bro, the 22nd Amendment is very clear. United States 22nd Amendment says the United States, it was ratified in 1951, limits the number of terms a person can serve as president of the United States. Section 1, no person shall be elected to office of the president more than twice. It means that a person can serve 2 terms as president or a total of 8 years. If a person has served more than 2 years of a president's term to which someone else was elected, for example, if they became president due to death or resignation of the original president, they can only be elected once more. This part ensures that no one can serve more than 10 years as president, which would happen if they assume presidency midterm. So, like, it's not legally possible. So basically, you're kind of like just telling people that you plan on pursuing control of the office of the presidency through a non-constitutional method. And that's just not a good look. I feel like this is if you're going to say, I want to pursue a 3rd term, bro, you got to put together a solid argument. And I'm going to tell y'all why. Because I don't actually believe that there is inherently anything wrong with a president running for office or holding office for more than 2 terms. I don't know if y'all have followed me long enough. Let's take Trump out of it. I just want to take Trump out of it. Don't even think about Trump. I believe that term limits for the president of the United States are inherently unconstitutional. I feel like, or really rather, not unconstitutional as much as anti-democratic. I've actually held this position for quite some time. And the reason why is because it's really, because like if you look all over the world, it's actually more often than not, term limits don't exist. The reason why is because if somebody wants to vote you out, they just fucking vote you out. Like if you're not doing a good job, they'll vote you out. I'm not talking about a dictatorship. I'm talking about a legitimate vote, right? Okay, cool. So the reason why I feel so strongly about the fact that term limits have actually put the United States in the position that we're in is because if you look at where we have term limits versus where we don't have term limits, where do we have a term limit at? At the office of the presidency. So if you are going to have term limits for the office of the presidency, why would you not? Am I frozen? How am I frozen? Give me a second, y'all. I don't know why I'm frozen. Okay, we're good now. If you are going to have term limits for the office of the presidency, why would you not have term limits for Congress? Why would you not have term limits for like the director of the FBI or the director of the CIA or the Senate? You get what I'm saying? Because when you put a new president in every 2 terms, there is only so much you can complete in 8 years. There's only so much of a movement that you can complete 8 years. It's hard for you to orient the quote unquote free world, even the United States, even your own Congress, even your own party, because you become the party's boss once you become the president, right? It is hard to build up a level of consistency that I believe would be conducive to a country's long-term success. Part of the reason that we know, for example, Evo Morales won legitimately before they overthrew him wasn't we knew he won because like they have one of the best electoral systems in the world. We knew that. But my point is, we knew he won because it wasn't just Evo Morales who won. Evo Morales won, and then his party was winning all over the country at local elections, state elections, and in their assembly, in their general assembly, in their Congress. Right? With Maduro, same thing. It will be one thing if Maduro was winning, but yet at the state and local levels, the opposition party was winning. That's not what we see. Or that's not what we saw, and that's not what we see. So I want you to think back to Henry Wallace and FDR. Everybody kind of is familiar with the FDR Henry Wallace situation. FDR, 3-term president. I think he's one of 2. Obviously, he didn't finish his term, but he didn't run for he ran for 3 terms because we were in the middle of a war. That was the justification for it. It was only merely a tradition to maintain 2 terms in office. I think that Lincoln started. Henry Wallace was the vice president for those first 2 terms. And he was one of the most popular politicians in the world. And even under FDR, as a socialist, Henry Wallace was a card-carrying socialist, okay, guys? Still ridiculously popular. Henry Wallace wanted to desegregate the world, or he wanted to segregate the country, right? He wanted to normalize relations with the global South. He wanted to stop footing the bill for Europe's colonialism, especially the UK. He wanted bilateral relationships, not predatory ones, when it came to international relations. He wanted to normalize relations with Russia and Stalin. He didn't want to start a Cold War. Henry Wallace would not have allowed the atomic bomb to be dropped, especially after we had already won the war. We wouldn't have the CIA if Henry Wallace were to win. And if Henry Wallace were to win, and we don't get this situation where we had a 2-term limit, Henry Wallace would have been able to build a coalition within the government and outside of the government that could have lasted for generations. So Henry Wallace was replaced at the Chicago National Convention, and they cheated to replace him because you got to think about it. Yeah, FDR was running a 3rd term, but you got to think about it from this perspective. They were realizing at that same time, oh shit, man, but they got 3 terms of FDR. Imagine if they wanted 3 terms of Henry Wallace. Was it 4th term? Thank you. So if somebody corrected me, so FDR served 3.5 terms, basically. So imagine 4 terms of a guy who wanted to decolonialize Africa, desegregate the country. I mean, you're getting to the point where we might not even need our MLKs, our Malcolm X's, our Black Panther parties. Like I'm talking about, like this is we might not ever even have an JFK assassination, RFK assassination. Bro, Israel might not exist. That is not hyperbole. Israel might not exist if Henry Wallace would have ended up being the president with no 22nd Amendment to hold him back from achieving his agenda, which, for all intents and purposes, was an agenda on behalf of all the working class people. Think about that. So it is bizarre when you truly take a step back and like look at it from a bird's eye view. Don't focus on Trump, just focus on the reality that for some reason we only have term limits on the presidency. And it's even crazier when you really think about it. It was Congress who put those term limits on him or on them. It wasn't the president who made this decision. It was Congress. Like, yeah, we believe that the president should have term limits, but we shouldn't. It's a little bit suspicious. Muito suspeito. Muito suspeito mesmo. That's super suspicious, guys. So that's what I said when I say I got mixed feelings about someone saying, "Oh, I want to serve a 3rd term." I don't want people to believe that I want Trump to serve a 3rd term because, bro, I see what you did with your 2nd term, and you are horrible. Like I said, time and time again, this administration has been a train wreck. Okay, it's been a train wreck. The only thing that you were kind of getting right is this Russia-Ukraine situation, and as we're going to discuss in a second, even that's blowing up in your face. You out here trying to justify stealing Greenland from Denmark. I'm not, if the people voted for him again, right, legitimate, and it was legal, I'll be like, whatever, it is what it is. If that's what y'all want, because I'm pro democracy. I get it. I don't believe that they will vote for him again. I think that there was just a key special election in Pennsylvania that the Republicans just lost. A lot of people are now predicting that the Republicans are going to lose the midterms. I don't really know if they're going to flip the House on the midterms. The reason I say that is because the only way that Republicans can lose the House in the midterms is if Democrats convince more people to show up. And people are not going to be convinced to show up and vote for genocide. They would rather just sit out. I've already made that clear. The numbers all show it. I mean, we just found out this past election. Like, just because I keep telling people, just because Republicans suck doesn't mean Democrats are going to show up, especially under the current circumstances. But I believe that he is saying this, I believe Trump wants other Republicans to believe that there is a genuine legal mechanism for him to pursue a third term, because he needs to maintain control and power over his party. And we know that a lot of his power comes from obviously him being the president, and then from his support base. But the Republicans don't necessarily like him. And as he begins to come to the end of his final term, and remember, J.D. Vance was amongst those Republicans. So it ain't like he could just come out and support J.D. Vance and assume J.D. Vance is going to be loyal to a Trump agenda later on. And he can't just assume that if the Democrats go after Trump after he finishes his term, that J.D. Vance is going to do something. Like if he runs for president and has the ability to protect Trump, that he's going to automatically protect him if the Democrats go after him. You can't assume that. J.D. Vance don't even know whose team J.D. Vance is on. So J.D. Vance works for himself. So I believe that this could be like a power move where he's claiming that he's going to run for a third term or plans on maintaining some type of control over the office of the presidency during a third term, because he needs to keep all the other Republicans in line. And if he is under the impression that all the other Republicans are not falling in line right now for some reason, in my opinion, that probably spells trouble. That means that there is something going on behind the scenes where he feels the need to exert like some type of control. Like I need to get my house in order because some people are making decisions that I don't agree with. They're not really vibing with each other. I feel like perhaps that Signal Gate situation might have exposed some shit. Because you got to think, remember, like I said, there were people in that chat that made it very clear, well, this isn't really this doesn't help American interests. There was illusions that it helps Israel, that we had to hope that maybe it would pay dividends by Europe somehow making it worth our while, even though it really didn't negatively or positively affect us, right? There was pushback in that group chat, and a lot of it did come from Vance. And so I don't know, man. I can't call it. I can't call it. But he said he was serious. I thought it was a joke, and then I went back and looked at the article, and I was like, nope, I'm dead ass serious. But I just want to be clear. I feel like it's just important to clarify. Just because we don't want Trump to have a third term doesn't mean like I am or you should be inherently against a third term. I believe that the 22nd Amendment was put in place to hurt democracy. Just want to be clear about that. I don't, if Trump wants to, here's my thing, Trump. So here's what I would do if I was you, right? If you want to be the president again, what you do is you do what the fucking majority of Americans want, right? You give them some health care, good health care. You actually stop going to war. You stop provoking Iran. You stop bombing Yemeni civilians. You stop financing genocide. You stop infringing on First Amendment rights in order to protect Israel, right? You stop letting Elon Musk talk. Just take the fucking mic out of his hands. Just end that. Just do your job. Do it well. Win the mandate back. Because right now, I don't believe Trump actually has a mandate to do what, like I don't think he has a mandate he would have had in 2020 and he did have in 2016. He don't have the same mandate. People don't trust him like that no more. People are pissed. There are people who still like him, people who still support him, but having people who generally support you is not the same thing as having a mandate. You got to earn a mandate. Okay? Give people what they will. Help out small businesses instead of bailing out corporations. Stop putting tariffs on everything and everybody and allow actual competition to flow. And then you can make your argument. 22nd Amendment is inherently unconstitutional. I would then start politic with the rest of the states. Because, eventually you got to get the states to ratify it. So like, you got to start making the time to start running for a third term was really before you got elected. But you have the ability to do that. You have the House. You have the Senate. Bro, just do what people need, not what Israel needs. And you could actually do it. You could just start a movement, because the truth of the matter is, like I said, it doesn't matter if you like Trump or not. My position is the 22nd Amendment is unconstitutional. So, or not unconstitutional, because technically it's an amendment within the Constitution, but it is inherently anti-democratic, right? And we're never going to, I feel like it's anti-democratic and it's hypocritical, because once again, we have Congress who doesn't have term limits, but somehow the president does. So what you could do is actually just do your job and be the president that many people thought you were going to be. Be the populist president that many people thought you were going to be. Hell, be 30% of that. Right? And then convince people with your mandate that the 22nd Amendment is unconstitutional. And then you can run again. Like, you can make that a whole movement. You can make that a whole campaign slogan. That is a campaign. Right? Why do y'all think about it like this, guys, really quick before we move on, because we're going to talk about Russia and Ukraine in a second. Think about it like this. Why do y'all think Putin and Russia were so prepared whenever the United States and the West tried to sanction them in oblivion at the start of this war with Ukraine? It's because they stopped term limits. I think Russia had term limits at one point, but then they removed them. And the term limits were put on a while ago, if they did have them. But I don't. It's been a while since they've had them. And so Putin has been president for a long time, which means Putin has seen all of the different ways the U.S. and the Western Empire and NATO have tried to manipulate and control the world and impose their will. So he was able to prepare in advance, not just as a president, but prepare militarily, prepare his legislature, and prepare the people for what is to come. Prepare businesses. Once again, the war started. They tried to sanction Russia into oblivion, and then somehow Russia's economy ends up stronger than ever. That's what happens when you have a long-term plan. And you can make a long-term plan as a president when your first 4 years isn't spent trying to win your next election. And then your next 4 years is spent trying to accomplish the goals that you set out to accomplish the first time. But for whatever reason, now you got a whole different Congress because you didn't get a chance to build up relationships and you didn't get a chance to campaign. You didn't get to keep the promises you made in the first place. Like, bro, because you got to make a bunch of excuses up now as to why you didn't get nothing done the first 4 years. And you can't just be like, basically, I was just trying to win the next 4 years. That's why I didn't do shit the first 4 years. Like, bro. Yeah, I agree. Friendly Brilliance said Trump is playing to all the Democrats scare stuff with this third term nonsense. It's true. Because if you were going to say that, like, just be like, I'm gonna do it through the most lawful way possible. I'm not gonna break any laws. I'm not gonna do it illegally. Like, there are so many. It's like he's doing it on purpose, and he could be trying to distract people. And he could be trying to distract liberals with that. He could be. I mean, that would be something that Trump would do, right? I think that we agree with that. But yeah, Obama would probably still be president if there were no term limits, and we still be. There is a good possibility that that's true. It's also a good point. But once again, if there were no term limits we can choose different points in history where there would be, if we like took away the 22nd Amendment, like we could choose different points in history and how that could potentially affect us or would have affected us. But like, I'm just talking about from the FDR moment, because that was to me the moment where they decided we are not about to have a Henry Wallace for 5 terms. Basically, that is what, in my opinion, scared the living. They wanted people. Once again, y'all, I don't know how many times I gotta say this. FDR was like, people keep calling him this great, one of the greatest presidents ever. No, he was a shitbag. He led us into this war in World War II. He allowed Henry Wallace to be cheated. You got to remember, if you are the president, the way that politics works is you are the party boss. When Henry Wallace was cheated and they replaced him with Truman, FDR allowed it to happen. When Ford and GE and GM and all those companies were making Nazi subsidiaries and building weapons and vehicles for Nazis, FDR allowed it. So it isn't like they were worried about FDR. They weren't worried about FDR. They were worried about Henry Wallace. It's like, damn, we got an FDR for 4 years, and they accomplished almost all the goals that they set out to accomplish by starting World War II with FDR in office. Not 4 years, 4 terms. But then you had to think about the reality of, shit, all of that could so easily be undone with 4 terms of a Henry Wallace. That's why the 22nd Amendment was passed. There is no A-bomb. There is no CIA. There is no Vietnam War. There is no Korea War. I mean, bro, there is no overthrow of Mossadegh. We would still be allies with Iran, probably. But like on bilateral terms rather than us bullying them. The US and UK wouldn't be intertwined. Like I said, there probably wouldn't be in Israel, not in its current form. Y'all know how we would be living in a different world if there was no 22nd Amendment. That's why I always say, y'all, whenever Congress is in agreement on something, be terrified. Because I can't think of the last time Congress all agreed on something and that shit was for the best. When they are working together, it's usually to screw us over. And I'm sure whenever they made those terms, people are like, yeah, that's a good idea. But it's kind of bizarre, at least it was bizarre. It would be considered bizarre to me, but maybe not at the time. It didn't seem like that. But or maybe because of how it was reported, or at least there's nothing in history that has shown to me that no one found it weird that they decided we're going to implement a term limit on the president, but not on ourselves. Because if you did it to yourselves and the president, okay, whatever. I still think that would be, I still think that would be anti-democratic. But as long as the president has term limits, I feel like that Congress should have term limits. But you also got to think about it too. The reason that we spend so much money on elections is because, partially because of the president, because the president has term limits. And so there's a lot of propaganda that has to go back into rebranding. If you had one guy, one girl, who was just, okay, they're really good at their job. And you're not doing as much. You're not spending as much money trying to rebrand. Hard to control. There's so many reasons. There's just so many reasons as to why we need to get rid of the 22nd Amendment. But what ifs? We'll move on to the next topic. Like this video, like, share. So we got we got some talking to do about this mineral deal. Got some things to discuss. So y'all remember that Trump was bragging about this mineral deal. Supposedly he and Zelensky had reached an agreement, and now it's apparently off. So Trump accuses Zelensky of trying to back out the Ukraine minerals deal. I gotta do it in the Trump way. If he does that, he's got problems. Okay. He's trying to back out of the rare earths deal, Trump told reporters on Air Force One. If he does that, he's got some problems, big problems. Donald Trump said Ukraine's President Volodymyr Zelensky faces big problems if he backs out the mineral deal with the U.S. The United States president's remarks come hours after he criticized Russian President Vladimir Putin for comments he made about the leader of Ukraine. He's trying to back out of the rare earth deal, Trump told reporters on Air Force One. On Air Force One of Mr. Zelensky, referring to an agreement that would provide the U.S. with access to Ukraine's rare earth minerals. Now, before I continue, I need y'all to know something. There's actually already been a rare earth deal passed. It was in 2021. I want to say it was 2021. It was already rare. Like, so there was already one in motion. And the U.S. was already taking advantage of the rare earth deal. So this, well, I guess would have been a renewal, or maybe we get more of their earth mineral. I don't know, but I don't know why it would be so difficult. Basically, is my point to do another earth deal in 2025 if you already had one in 2021. Anyway, he said we made a deal on rare earth, and now he's saying, well, you know, I want to renegotiate the deal. Speaking en route from Florida to Washington, Trump said he wants to be a member of NATO. Of course, he was never going to be a member of NATO. He understands that. I think that the world understands that. Everybody in the world knows Ukraine's not going to be part of NATO except for Zelensky. Even Ukraine, like the people, no, they're not going to be part of NATO. It's not going to happen. Because as much as these motherfuckers be talking about they want World War III for real, that nobody wants to smoke with Russia like that. Especially with Iran on edge. Iran's waiting for an excuse. They're waiting for a reason. Russia waiting for it. All their allies waiting for a reason. Like, and if Ukraine signs that deal, joins NATO, that's it. All bets are off. So nobody wants it. Not for real. Not before they're prepared for it, at least. And not before they know who is on whose side. Because right now, Europe is kind of, they're like, I don't know, man. We're going to have to see how things play out. Although he insisted to reporters that we're making a lot of progress, he acknowledged that there's a tremendous hatred between Zelensky and Putin, a fresh indication that negotiations may not produce the swift conclusion that he promised during his campaign. Oh, you think? He still hasn't gotten them in the same room. I don't know. Once again, I don't know how you keep trying to negotiate on behalf of two countries that are going to war with each other, and you can't even get them in the same room, and you expect somehow for them to broker a peace deal. I don't understand how that works. You know, I'm just a lowly old podcaster, I guess, but I've never seen that happen in history, where two people who are at war with each other broker a peace deal with one another, and they're never in the same room, not even on the same phone call, or whatever. In an earlier interview with NBC News, he referenced comments Putin made on Friday about temporarily putting Ukraine under external governance. Trump said he was angry and pissed off when the Russian leader started getting into Zelensky's credibility. See, how are we going to take you seriously, Trump? Because you're one of the ones who made it clear that Zelensky is kind of on some dictator shit. You've leaned into that. We know that he hasn't held elections. He's talked about the importance of Zelensky considering holding elections, and that people are rightfully upset that he hasn't held elections and that he has no plans on holding elections. Right? Like, why are you playing this game? You're not helping anybody. You're not fooling anybody. Putin reaffirmed his claim that Mr. Zelensky, whose presidential term expired last year, lacks the legitimacy to sign the peace deal. And I thought it was just because of his term expiring. But Putin, you know, always dropping a little nugget every now and then, taught me something new. Under Ukraine's constitution, it is illegal for the country to hold national elections while it's under martial law. But if the deal, basically what he is saying is that he can't sign something if he's not the legitimate president, because he just doesn't recognize it. He doesn't recognize the president. He's like, bro, even so, I feel like this is kind of problematic for Zelensky, because he's telling you, you're not legitimately the president to me. Because as I've explained before, for those of you who don't know, this martial law thing is new. It is not something that's always been a part of Ukraine's constitution. It was actually done in 2015 after the Maidan coup. It was done at the behest of the United States, because whoever the United States put in power, they wanted to be able to call martial law and make sure that they stay in power whenever it behooved the United States. You get what I'm saying? So the ratification of this law in Putin's mind, in my opinion, legitimately so, the ratification of this law is illegitimate because it was brought about by a coup by the United States and on behalf of the United States. Sparky, thank you very much for the super chat. Fun fact, Pete Hegseth was introduced to the media around 2010 by Lindsey Graham. Prior to that, Pete was Lindsey's joy boy. Whoa, did not know that. Did you say he was in the Navy? I don't know. Oh, man. So here's where it gets crazy. If a deal isn't done, or excuse me, if a deal isn't made, and if I think it was Russia's fault, I'm going to put secondary sanctions on Russia, Trump said, adding that there would be 25 to a 50-point tariff on all oil. Anybody buying oil from Russia will not be able to sell their product, any product, not just oil, into the United States. Guys, I ain't gonna lie. How you gonna threaten? Like, y'all already put how many sanctions on Russia? Like, what? You think that what? Hey man, when the last time I just like, damn man, that I really enjoyed that Russian product I bought recently that I didn't have to pay a bunch of money for because we don't have tariffs on it in the United States. That as we say in Brazil, Jaeta, there is nothing more to tax. You can't hurt Russia anymore with sanctions because y'all already sanctioned them you tried to sanction them into oblivion. That is a empty threat. It's like when you threaten South Africa with money. We're going to take South Africa's money away. Okay, but we don't get any money from y'all. Shut the fuck up. That's not the point. Bro, what? What is Trump? Trump really be getting on camera before he talks to anybody and just be saying shit sometimes. It's like he forgot. We already sanctioned Russia. We already threatened and sanctioned countries and punished countries that try to do business with Russia. That's already a thing. And you're going to, so there are countries, however, that do buy like natural gas from Russia, do buy oil from Russia, as you all know. In Europe, Western Europe, they're paying a tax on that because they pissed off Russia. But if those countries have to pay even more because you think they're going to listen to Trump? How's that going to work out if you threaten the Western European countries because of this deal that you swore that you could get done, and now Putin is like, yeah, but nah. And now you want to try to threaten them. So you got tariffs on China, tariffs on Canada, tariffs on Mexico. You're going to try to put more tariffs on Russia. Ukraine is just sucking us dry, and not in a good way. Israel is sucking us dry, also not in a fun way. Saudi Arabia is kind of just sitting back watching us. Iran's waiting to bust a move. What exactly is going through Trump's mind? Does he not realize Putin has all the cards in the situation? I don't get why you think. I don't understand why Trump thinks that he has control over the outcome of this deal. And I feel to me, and y'all can let me know if I'm wrong, to me, it feels like Putin is suggesting, I really don't give a shit anymore if he signs this deal. I don't consider him to be the president. Putin actually suggested the other day that the UN put a temporary leader to help to be president while they're transitioning into a new government and to get this deal done, because he is dead ass serious that he does not consider Zelensky to be a legitimate leader. And he doesn't, rightfully so, doesn't believe Zelensky would follow the deal. So there's that. But then there's the minerals deal, people. The minerals deal with Ukraine that Trump is obsessing over. It is not a coincidence that he is, once again, I don't know how this is supposed to stop war between Russia and Ukraine. I don't know how he believes stopping a minerals deal or doing a minerals deal with Ukraine is supposed to somehow stop Russia from busting their ass. I'm trying to understand that. Maybe because he thinks that he can leverage that somehow with Russia, like, hey, we can split some of the profits. But like, you getting money off of Ukraine ain't gonna stop Russia from busting their ass. That's already been a thing. Y'all have been getting money off Ukraine and Russia's still busting their ass. So I don't know why that's being put out into the forefront as if that was going to be the deal breaker. But I know why Trump and the United States are obsessed over this rare earth deal. So Ukraine has a lot of rare minerals, but one of the things that they actually have, not the most of, but one of the most of, is lithium. They have some of the largest lithium deposits in the world. I did not know that until recently. And they don't have an official rank because they have so much of it that's been untapped. But they do know that for certain, they have more than almost all of the countries in Europe. Ukraine does. So I want you to think about everything that, I know we joked. I just saw somebody make a BYD comment. Off topic, did you buy the BYD yet? Not yet. It's coming. It's coming. It's coming. Don't worry. But speaking of BYD, think about like this. China right now is busting the world's ass in lithium. Like they got the most. And they keep racking up, and they're making deals and bilateral negotiations with other countries that also have lithium. The United States has a bunch of lithium, but we already know how an economic industrial revolution race goes. It's not about how much resources necessarily that you have in your personal country. It's about your ability to control the ability for a competition to sell their resources. So China is busting our ass in lithium. Their cars are better. Their EVs are better, right? They have more competition within the country for EVs. Eventually, they will spread. They've already started in Latin America. They're already getting in Southeast Asia, East Asia. Probably going to spread even further than that because that's what happens. In the United States, because of like they screwed themselves. People need to remember, like the United States screwed themselves by trying to stack the deck in favor of Tesla because Tesla took forever to get to the point that they even had a working vehicle. Meanwhile, China actually stimulated EV competition. They didn't just give a bunch of money to one company till every other company's sorry, you're screwed. Wait till Tesla figures it out, and then we might let them run up the price on their car because there's no other EV available, and then we might let y'all compete. Meanwhile, China has multiple companies, multiple countries, and they're allowed to compete. And they're ahead already. They're already ahead, and the price point much better. And now because they're crushing the lithium game, they can pull ahead. When BYD beat Tesla in sales, that wasn't some small thing, y'all. That was like they let Tesla Tesla the second largest Tesla factory is in China. So it ain't like it's just because BYD is in China. No, BYD is in China, not in the US, was able to beat them. Tesla is in the US, in China, in the UK, and in the EU, while BYD and other Chinese car companies are not allowed, and BYD still beat them. And that was a horse that the US was betting on. So now you got to play catch up, right? But to play catch up, you're going to have to probably invest in infrastructure in all of your other car companies that are now behind to some degree, right? They're all playing catch up because you did that in order to give Tesla the advantage to make Elon a billionaire, make him controllable. We already know how that story goes. You need lithium. You cannot do it without lithium. So this minerals deal is not really about Russia and Ukraine. It's really about China. It's really about competing with China. That's what it comes down to. It's about who gets control, and in a way that you don't have to go to war for it, over the untapped rare earth minerals that the United States needs to compete with China, who is already busting their ass. Why do you think Trump was so confident about putting more tariffs on China recently? He was under the belief that this fucking rare earth minerals deal was going to go through with Ukraine. That's why. Why do you think he was so okay with putting the tariffs on Canada? Because he was so confident that this rare earth minerals deal with Ukraine was going to go through. That's what he believed that. And for all intents and purposes, he probably was thinking like, yeah, Ukraine doesn't even have a choice. So he was like, yeah, I could put these tariffs but we're going to recover. And I'm going to still look like a strong man. I'm going to look like the boss. Except for Zelensky probably realizing that he has some leverage, at least with Trump. None with Putin, to be completely honest. But he does have some leverage with Trump. He's like, oh, you were counting on our lithium to better your economy? To compete with China? Oh, well, then I want NATO. Here we go, this shit again. But the reality is, if the United States does not secure those lithium deposits, that might be it, guys. This is in a greater context of West Africa taking their countries back, taking their resources back. Burkina Faso, Mali, Niger. I mean, they're all starting to work, and now they're cooperating amongst each other. This is like, you got to think about it in a greater context. Like, y'all, people not realizing like Trump is trying to make a bet on Ukraine. And those countries that I mentioned in Africa, Russia's helping. So if I'm going to do business, right? Who am I going to do business with? The country that's actually helping me? Bilateral relationships. Not fake bilateral, like actual bilateral cooperation. Economically and militarily. But the country, like the actual country, like Burkina Faso, they're the ones who primarily benefit from their relationship with Russia. I really believe that this situation with Ukraine, the reason that Trump is so pissed, because he was betting on getting that lithium and competing. I don't believe it's a coincidence that they're taking this Tesla situation so seriously. Like, yeah, if I'm a businessman, no, I don't want people burning down my motherfucking Teslas or whatever. Cool. But think about it. Whenever Trump had his there was like people protesting Trump Tower. Trump actually just didn't really give a fuck. He didn't really care that much. He's like, bro, like, okay. He didn't care. Because it didn't really affect him that much. Not as much people thought it would. He probably knew it wouldn't affect him. But the Tesla thing is different because the United States invested billions. The initial 30-something billion, then there was the billions in credits after, and then there was a tariffs we put on all the competition after. Then it was the fact that we didn't really allow other companies, like we didn't allow the Fords and the GMs and GEs, like we didn't let them compete to the degree that they should have been allowed and would have been allowed to compete under any other normal circumstances, because they were trying to give Tesla the advantage, give Elon Musk specifically the advantage, because he's one of the PayPal mafia guys. The same way they paid Jeff Bezos to beat eBay so that he could carry out their bidding, the same way they did with Zuckerberg, right? The same way they do with Thiel. That's what they did with Elon, except for it's not working out. The rest of the world's passing. That's why the Tesla situation is a big deal, because the one way they have to compete with Elon Musk, with China, with these other EV companies, outside of tariffs and taxes, is through sales. And with the think about the BYD shit is crazy, because this is before he became the leader of Doge. The BYD car company beat Tesla before Elon was part of the Trump administration. Before the boycotts. Think about that. Before the boycotts, This is when everybody was like just casually buying. I like a Tesla, I'll buy it. If I don't like it, I won't buy it. They made decisions and they chose BYD. Now people are actively choosing to boycott Tesla. They don't like Elon, so they're burning Teslas. And now there are a bunch of videos coming out where people are like walking out of the manufacturing of the manufacturers, or excuse me, the warehouses and shit like that where they build them, because like it's like slave labor basically. So there's those videos coming out. And then it's just the mere fact that people are learning, oh shit, I can buy this EV for $10,000. What the hell is Elon charging me for then? It's the exclusivity that he didn't even earn. It was given to him. He's charging you for exclusivity. Because when China was making EVs, because it was just a smart business move, it was better for them economically. Elon was making EVs, and the United States was allowing Elon to make EVs and Tesla to make EVs for to be a status symbol, basically. So now they're reaping what they sow. Has anyone informed President Trump that there are 10 times more Ukrainian fatalities than Russian fatalities? Seems Trump still thinks there are more Russians killed than Ukrainians, and it's a stalemate. I don't know what Trump actually thinks, because it depends on what interview you watch. Sometimes it makes it seem like he knows that there are more Ukrainians that were killed, and other times, depending on who he's in front of and what point he's trying to make, it sounds like he thinks that there are more Russians that are killed. I don't know what he actually believes, so I'm just going to leave it. There is one more story that I promise if y'all stick around, I'll give y'all a preview too, because it's for my hotspot video. I did it today, so y'all gonna hear about this topic first, because it is super serious, actually. Let me pull it up for you guys. Have y'all seen this yet? Hundreds of foreign students in the U.S. have been told they must self-deport or they will be forcibly deported for campus activism, including attending protests and posting on social media. This comes after the launch of the AI system Catch and Revoke, which trolls social media for politically incorrect speech. Speaking to reporters, Rubio said, "Every time I find one of these lunatics, I take away their visas. At some point, I hope we run out. There are 1.1 million international students in the U.S. today." That is insane, y'all. Look at this. F1 visa revoked. Why the U.S. is asking hundreds of international students to self-deport. Hundreds of international students studying in the U.S. have received emails from the United States State Department telling them to self-deport as their F1 visas, student visas, have been revoked, owing to campus activism. The crackdown is not limited to students who physically participated in campus activism, but people who shared or even liked, quote unquote, anti-national posts have reportedly also been targeted in these emails. Some Indian students may also be at the receiving end of such emails for something as innocuous as sharing a social media post, the Times of India reported, quoting immigration attorneys who confirmed the development. According to the latest Open Doors report, of the 1.1 million international students studying in the U.S. in 2023 and 2024, 3.31 Lakh Indians are Lakh Indian students. The diktat followed the U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio's announcement about the revocation of several international students' visas for so-called anti-national activities. It might be more than 300 at this point. We do it every day. Every time I find one of these lunatics, I take away their visas. Every country in the world has a right to decide who comes in as a visitor and who doesn't, Rubio said at a press conference in Guyana on Thursday, without elaborating on whose visas had been revoked. Speaking to reporters on the plane back to Washington, Rubio said that 300 revoked visas were a combination of student and visitor visas. He said he signed every single action. Guys, what the fuck? This is insane. So now, so to be clear, I just want to remind everybody. Once you land in the United States, and really, especially once you're a resident, and of course, if you're a citizen, you do know, I just want everybody to understand, you are entitled to constitutional rights because the Constitution is a restriction. It's really limitations on the government. They're human rights that we all agree on, and there are government restrictions to how they impede your human rights. The First Amendment is obviously one of those rights. It's part of the Bill of Rights. Okay. This man is literally not. Your student visa has nothing to do with your opinions. And they're revoking student visas and now apparently some tourist visas because of what they call anti-national speech. And to make it all even worse, they are doing this using an AI to scrub people's social medias, to look over everyone's social medias, to figure out if you're engaging in what they call anti-national speech. Oh, and by the way, now it was one thing. It was already bad enough that when you were protesting, you could be deported. Protesting Israel, even, you could be deported. Right? That was bad enough. Physically protesting Israel, physically engaging in your First Amendment right to, protest a fucking genocide. You are being deported or potentially having your visa revoked, or even, as we saw, potentially arrested because you protested another country. And they said that's anti-American. But now, you don't even got to be at the protests. They can revoke your visa for a social media post because you liked something or you shared something. Bro. And they're using AI to do this. Now, I want y'all to remember, this is in the context of the same administration that not even a month or so ago came out and said they want to invest $500 billion into inventing the world's most advanced AI. Ladies and gentlemen, what do you think they plan on doing with an AI like that? If they made one AI for the State Department just to scrub the internet to figure out who they do and do not like and deport them for anti-American posts. The First Amendment was created so that you could challenge without being punished your government, your neighbor, your politicians, police officers, so that you could have an opinion about what's going on, so that your politicians would then be forced to basically contort their politics and their policies around their constituency or the people that they need to win over in order to maintain office, to do their job. So now, any criticism, it seems, we know somehow criticizing Israel is anti-national. I need to know how that math works on that one. I don't know how. So if I'm a foreigner, right, and I criticize Israel, another foreign country, while I'm in America, that somehow makes me anti-American? What? If you want to know if your country's controlled by another country, by a foreign power, there you go. But now you don't even got to be at the protest, guys. That's who's cheering. Y'all. So MAGA, out of curiosity, y'all still doing this? Y'all still putting the blinders over your eyes? We still doing this? We're pretending like we're not seeing what we're seeing. Sparky, thank you very much for the super chat. Niko, then I guess when you and Trump hang out, you just talk about golf instead of Ukraine, other geopolitical issues. Trump wouldn't hang out with me. Oh, I don't know. He might, but he probably wouldn't like me all that much because I'd be like, hey, bro, what the fuck are you doing? Why are you being stupid for? Stop letting stupid people influence you. Keep in mind, Israel has killed many more Americans than Iran. Remember the USS Liberty? Yeah, hell, we don't got to go back to the USS Liberty. It ain't been that long. They've been killing Americans in Palestine. They've literally killed American activists. They've accidentally killed soldiers. They've killed them on purpose. They've killed American citizens through the Hannibal Directive, like U.S.-Israeli dual citizens. They've killed other NATO citizens. So, like, you don't even got to go back to the USS Liberty, to be completely honest. But you're absolutely right, man. So, y'all do know, right? Because people like to think in the short term, and I don't understand this because this goes back to the conversation we just had in the beginning of the show about the 22nd Amendment. You do know this AI, because we understand the nature of these things. Like, nobody starts a department, puts together a system, starts a tax and then takes the tax away. Like, you do know that this AI won't just stay with the Marco Rubio State Department, right? Eventually Trump, and when they make this new AI, this $500 billion, and it's by the way, don't even need $500 billion to make it, but somehow these tech bros all convince him. All of the major tech bros convince him. Yeah, 500 billion should do it. That should help us out. Like, but don't you already have most of this technology knocked out? Y'all just need to work together to. Yeah, 500 billion. No, that's how much we need. Fucking getting robbed. We getting robbed, y'all. For them to make Chat GPT Part 5.2. That's basically what they're going to end up doing anyway. But no, in all seriousness, if they do end up making an AI that could be seriously problematic, y'all do know, for y'all MAGA folks, that the new administration would inherit it. Y'all think the police state is a problem now. Like, what do we see? Trump was calling all these BLM protesters or people who are protesting against the death of George Floyd domestic terrorists. Y'all recall that? And one of my biggest problems was, I'm like, y'all are idiots if y'all are joining in on this rhetoric. Y'all are idiots. Because y'all don't know if he's going to win again. And if he doesn't win again, who do y'all think is going to be the domestic terrorist next? And sure enough, January 6th comes around. People go out and protest. And you could call some, people, I don't know if you call it breaking into buildings, because when the police let you in, I don't know if you can call it breaking in. But I can say pretty confidently that nobody there was a domestic terrorist. I might disagree with their politics, but I can say pretty confidently nobody there was a domestic terrorist. But it doesn't matter, because you already allowed the precedent to be set when you allowed Trump to call everybody that you don't like a domestic terrorist. See how shit rolls downhill? So now we have AI being used to track down and revoke the visa of 300 students. And what's crazy is, you would think this is something you would hear about from AOC, something you would hear about from Bernie Sanders, something you would hear about from Ilhan Omar, these progressive champions. But no. These people are receiving emails, and we're finding out from WikiLeaks and foreign sources. And Marco Rubio, it's not like they don't have the comments. Marco Rubio is bragging about it. It's like, I've been signing these. Because it didn't start today. And now we're finding out that it isn't even limited to Israel. It was bad enough when it was limited to Israel, I guess. But hold up. So what the fuck? What do y'all consider to be anti-national? What does that mean? That's a very broad definition. Because before, remember, it was like the only way that the State Department could get involved is if you were considered to be a national security threat. And there's a process to determine whether or not you are a national security threat. Now, to be completely honest, there are a lot of these people who are going to be able to afford lawyers. And they'll probably get it sorted out. But the goal is that they're probably trying to vet to figure out who can and can't afford a lawyer, because the government is not going to want to deal with that. They're not going to want to go to war with every every rich kid's family's lawyer in the like they're gonna try to find the poorest or the less well off kids who don't have a choice but to leave. Oh, by the way, they made it clear that so in this order, in this email, they say you don't got time to pack your shit. They literally say that. Let me I don't want to misquote it. It may also make you ineligible for a future U.S. visa. Please note that deportation can take place at a time that does not allow the person being deported to secure possessions or conclude affairs in the United States. Persons being deported may be sent to countries other than their countries of origin. It further read. This is an email. Now, once again, there are extremely rare circumstances where that's allowed, but the circumstances would probably almost certainly not apply to this situation. Like you could get sent. So depending on the deportation situation, you can get sent to a country that you have another citizenship in. If you receive refugee status in another country before coming to the U.S., you get sent back to that country if your original country doesn't want you. If no other country wants you, then a country that the United States has a working relationship with, you can go to that country if they'll accept you conditionally. So or if your parents have a second country they're very specific. But if you're getting deported, 98% of the time, your ass supposed to be going back to your country. And if you're in college and you got your F1 visa revoked, you definitely should be going back to your country because you just left that bitch. It ain't like you've been here forever. But they're telling you know how many of these, y'all do know international students pay 100% of their college tuition. It's almost like if you got a full rise international student, it's a rarity because international students generally pay cash, and they 9 times out of 10 don't even qualify for U.S. loans. Right? So they set up payment plans or they pay straight up cash. Okay, so you paid 2 years of your college. Think about that. And you got an email yesterday saying because of a social media post that, once again, don't even have to do with Israel anymore. Just whatever is considered by Marco Rubio and the State Department to be anti-national. You got to go back home after your parents have paid 2 years. We are living in dangerous times, y'all. Because now that you've been flagged, they're saying that, if you don't self-deport immediately, that could prevent you from qualifying for future U.S. visas. Ladies and gentlemen, you just got sent out of the country because the State Department basically had to use a rule that necessitates deeming you to be a threat to national security. You are not getting another visa to the U.S. I don't give a damn if you self-deport on time. You're not getting another visa to the U.S. if the State Department is the one that had to send you off. Because in order for them to justify that, they have already made the claim that they deem you to be a threat to national security, guys. And that's where we're at now. We're at the point where students can't even make posts about the opinions and the beliefs that they hold. Where it was once considered when it was the right that was talking about how much Democrats believe in censorship. All this shit that they're doing right now, they said it was the Democrats that were going to do this to us if they got elected again. And they probably are right. The Democrats probably would do some shit like this. I mean, hell, look at what they did during the whole protests against Israel. So yeah, I guess we could say that. But damn, y'all done went and got an AI. Y'all literally made an AI to track down. Bro, this is some Gestapo shit. Bro, this is cyberpunk, Gestapo, dystopian. This is crazy. This is all of the worst possible thing. Damn, man, what's the worst thing that I can fear about a technocracy? Oh, that they would create an AI to track me fucking down for my social media posts and deport me because they consider me to be a national security threat? While I'm in the middle of school, I just post some shit because I heard something interesting in class, and now I'm deported. And if you get flagged as a national security threat in the U.S., that shit don't stay in the U.S. You get put into a system. You could be flagged all over they're gonna, because when you're applying to another country, they're gonna ask like, oh, have you ever been deported before from another country? What country was that? The United States? Oh, okay. Why were you deported? Oh, the state. I didn't overstay my visa. I had my visa revoked. There is a difference between I accidentally overstayed my visa and you have to actually report that you had your visa revoked, because you have to go through a background check when you were trying to apply for a visa or for residency. So even if they want to go to school in another country, if they got their visa revoked, and if we just happen to find out that was from Israel, if they happen to find out that it was because you protested Israel, because they're going to do a background check, they have to go to they're going to find out, oh, it was the State Department that deported. It's a problem. Do y'all understand? Like, this is going to destroy lives, destroy people's futures, destroy people's potential future livelihood. And it isn't even limited to Israel or physical protesting anymore. And somehow MAGA still going to close their eyes and pretend like shit ain't going on. Denazify Israel. Yep, 100% agree, Sparky. And we need to have that conversation more often, because everybody likes to say, but they're Jewish. No. Your religion has nothing to do with whether or not you're a Nazi. And we need to emphasize that more often. Sparky, anytime someone says Israel's our only friend in the Middle East, I can't help but think that before Israel, we had no enemies in the Middle East. U.S. missionary John Shane. Bringing back the classic. Most MAGA people are pissed at Trump for continuing to send U.S. money to Israel and Ukraine. Unfortunately, they are offset and concealed by tons of Zionists and neocons sponsored by fake MAGA internet bots. You know, it's interesting that you brought up the internet bot thing as we come to a close. Because I just said the other day, I'm like, yo, y'all know how fucking weird it is that Elon's like on the internet? So like, he's on Twitter, right? And I feel like anyone who's been on Twitter lately, on X lately, has seen like it's a bunch of bots with fake pictures, right? Because their responses don't even make sense with what the shit that they're responding to. Like, are you responding to me? Because like what you said isn't even vibing or jiving with whatever I'm talking about. Oh, you stupid little dumbass. What's that got to do with anything I just said? If it's a perceived negative comment about Elon, a perceived negative comment about Trump, then the bots will come after you, right? Especially if the post has gone viral with a bunch of Israeli flags in it. Somehow, sometimes you get I've seen the weird Palestine Ukraine flag mix, and they tried to spice up the bots a little bit where it will look like they might be a populist, like a supporter of populist working class policies, but in reality, if you go to like their replies, they don't ever post, but if they only reply, and their replies are just a bunch of shit, just a bunch of bot replies, basically. And I laugh because I'm like, bro, so Elon Musk, who runs Twitter, and it's supposed and Trump, who has his mandate, they got to run a bunch of bots on your own website to kiss your own ass. It's your website. Like, if people are already incentivized to kiss your ass, and still you got to run more bots to do it because people are waking up. Like, Elon boosts posts patting himself on the back. Why? It's your web. Why do you need to do that? That's weird. He will boost random accounts. Why? For what? That man was having a conversation with Laura Loomer, posted something about his little baby mom that's probably an Israeli asset. And Elon Musk is commenting under the post for Laura Loomer about how much he pays to his baby mom that may not really be his baby mom. So I was like, yeah, I gave her like $2.5 million a year and like $500,000 a month, some shit like that. Under Laura Loomer's post, I'm like, are you really having a conversation about your baby daddy, baby mama drama? On fucking bro, Jesus Christ, what the fuck is going on here? What are you doing, bro? Get off the internet. Don't you got a job? People keep trying to convince me. There are people who say Elon works harder than you do. Guys, I don't believe that. I seriously don't believe Elon Musk works harder than a single fucking soul, because you can't be chronically on X as much as Elon is and simultaneously convince me this motherfucker just out here innovating and changing the world. I don't believe it. Because it ain't like he on there like we don't just get spurts of Elon like, once every, 2 tweets a day. It's not how it works with Elon. We getting Elon Musk tweets and retweets every 15, 20 minutes. That's and then he starts replying to everybody. The only time he is not tweeting is when he's like in front of a microphone. And even then he speaks as if he's on X still. Like he's like trying to talk to his ex. It's bizarre. It is strange. And then like you got a bunch of bots that you need to boost to because people aren't buying your shit. Like, why are you constantly threatening to sue people? You're in politics. I'm suing you. Bro, the richest man in the world. He's the richest man in the world and he just plays victim all day. Do you know how hilarious, bro? There's a funny ass joke in there somewhere that the guy who was making a joke about him being the first I'm African. I'm the richest man in the world. Remember that? And they always like to say, oh, it's money. Money. If you got a bunch of money, you got no right to complain. And when black people are like, well, the money really, black people don't, the money is a problem, but the racism is really the problem. It's like, it's just the money is a byproduct of something else. My biggest issue is not money. And when people think about racism, but what about these rich black people? Motherfucker, what? You think that that is not the problem? Right? When we talk about that, if you think that when black people complain about the systemic oppression that they've experienced throughout the decades and centuries, they're not talking about money. It's just that money happens to be a byproduct. Because money buys influence. Influence buys politicians. Politicians are moved by the money influence buys. That's why Israelis cannot be the most oppressed group in the world and simultaneously have the most political influence in the world. That's not how it works. Because you wouldn't even be allowed to have the type of influence AIPAC had if you were actually oppressed. So back to Elon Musk, y'all the ones who be like, money solves all the problems. If you have a bunch of money, you have no reason to complain. He's the richest man in the world, and all he does is sits on Twitter and complains and plays the victim, and his fucking loyal little servants are like, yeah, he is the victim. He's just trying to do good, and the liberals don't like him because he's trying to change the world. I'm like, y'all gotta be kidding me. If Elon Musk was actually black, like actually African, like, y'all wouldn't be having this shit. If this was Obama, if Obama, y'all know I don't like Obama, but if Obama complained as much and played victim as much as Elon Musk did, Jesus Christ. I remember, like, I'm not like a big LeBron fan, but I remember like at one point LeBron was talking about the racism he experienced. Like, y'all remember when he had like the N-word sprayed on his house and people were like, why is he complaining? He has money. What? Like, okay, he can't complain about the racism he experienced because he has money? I'm confused. Why are those two things mutually exclusive? Like, yeah, I can still experience racism and not be broke. And also, he is a superstar athlete and his race is not like he earned every dime he's got. And he's probably underpaid if we're being real. I mean, it's LeBron. But at the same time, what does that have to do with racism? What does that have to do with what he experienced? What does that have to do with the fear for his life and his family and his family's well-being? Because there is a reality that there is the concept of the quote unquote uppity nigga, right? Whenever there are people who are jealous because a black person is earning more than them and is wealthy. Like, that is a thing. So we have people who would literally complain if a black person or a Latino or somebody complain about life while being rich. Right, like rich people. I mean, rich people do have problems. Like, I'm not one of those people who are like rich people have no problem. That's dumb. That's a dumb concept. However, this is the richest man in the world. and who not only is the richest man in the world, but is literally buying off governments, bought off Trump to the tune of what, close to 300 million at this point, probably more. He is making, well, he would have been making money, I guess, if he didn't fuck up so bad, but he has the influence to use the government to make himself more money. He probably is trying to do so in whatever way he can. Not only in the US, but really even in other countries. You have the wind at your back, sir. You managed to be an apartheid baby who convinced liberals to buy into your bullshit right before you flip the switch and then convince a bunch of conservatives to buy into your bullshit. And the whole time, you only got to be in the position you're in because you're the same type of undocumented immigrant that you spend all day trying to criticize and deport. You earned your wealth from the wasteful spending of the U.S. government that you are now trying to say that, oh man, can't believe the U.S. government spends money like this, wastes money. Like, bro, what you mean? That's how you got your money. They threw a bunch of money at Tesla until you finally got it right. You wouldn't have been able to be this rich if it wasn't for the government wasting money. And now he's in charge of making sure they don't waste it. What? And all you do all day, despite having all this money, despite having all this influence, despite basically getting away with everything you do, like his failures become success, not because he's actually successful, but because he gets carried to success. His quirks and his problematic behavior become celebrated because people rely on him. They need him. They need him to co-sign them. And despite having all these advantages, being an apartheid baby, coming from money, he still is on Twitter all day complaining. I just came, bro. That's J-Mo, you're right. Racism is a tool of capitalism. Yes, that's a fact. That's a factual statement. I mean, you're not gonna get an argument out of me. Sparky, thank you for the super chat. In the last 30 years, Israel has poured tons of money into evangelical Christian churches, plus provided them with "I stand with Israel" flags and bumper stickers to pass out at their congregations. Oh yeah, I remember. I got when I was at a Presbyterian church, we all took a trip to the movie theater together to watch some movie about Israel and how they were being oppressed by Palestinians. And I thought it was the weirdest shit ever. I just didn't want to start an argument at the church because I feel like I was the only one. But later on, I found out that the majority of my youth group actually felt the same way. We all felt it was really weird that we were taking a trip because it's like, it only showed one. So I was like, yeah, they just hate us, man. They just hate us because we're Jewish. It just sucks because they we want to get along with them, but they just hate us. And they just never told the other side of the story. And generally speaking, when you only tell one side of the story, and they try to frame it around religious disagreements only. And it was like at not the beginning of the war in Iraq and Afghanistan, but it was like within the first 6 years of that. So like there was already an anti-Muslim bias that they were hoping would percolate and kind of like just let people not ask questions. And it didn't work out like that. Most MAGA people, oh yeah, I read that. Hey guys, so we are going to get up out of here. Thank you all so much for the love, support. Oh, appreciate everybody who sent the love about the new baby. Yep, super excited about that, even though my wife is, she's going through it. This pregnancy has been a little bit challenging for her. I don't know. That's part of the reason why I think it's going to be a girl, because all of a sudden she don't got no energy. With my boy, my boy, she was fine. She was working until like 7 or 8 months. And I had to stop her from working, actually. So this has been a little bit different, but appreciate you guys. Thank you all so much for the love. Super excited about it. Praying I get my little princess. Thank you for the super chat, Sparky. Those same evangelical Christian churches were calling Zionist Christian killers 50 years ago. Christ killers 50 years ago. Yes. Hell, I'm still do. I mean, we ain't gonna, that's a whole different conversation, but yeah, thank you guys so much. If you want to help support the show, hell, hey, anything will help. Cause like I said, yeah, if y'all got kids, y'all know kids are like reverse ATM machines. It's like you put the money in and you have no idea where that shit went. So, well, I'm trying to tell you, and I cannot pray. I'm praying, y'all. I'm praying. I get another girl. I cannot have another boy in my damn house breaking everything. Why do boys break everything? Do y'all know? Like, I feel like I wasn't like that. We broke some stuff every now and then, but like my kids be breaking shit every single. My son broke it. My oldest broke his book bag today. He said he was sitting down, was trying to move it, it got stuck somewhere, and now the bottom broke. I said, dog, I just got you this book bag. How did you break a book bag? It's so crazy how fast. But then my baby, my 1-year-old, that he breaks stuff for fun. He broke the cage to we had to block off the stairs because my son's been walking since he was 8 months old. And one of the first things he wanted to learn how to do, actually, he'd been trying to climb the stairs since before 8 months. But once he learned how to walk, yeah, that was it. We had to put the garage. So, or the cage. So they had bars, right? He ripped the bar off. He ripped the two of the bars off and bent them so that he could get through. And this is after we already had to actually tie, like, to reinforce the cage, because he's so strong for some fucking reason that he's able to just rip things. I don't know how it's the craziest shit. So then he knows how to, he's reaching he takes dishes off the top of the counter now, and he's like getting on his tippy toes, and he can take dishes off the counter now, which also is not supposed to be possible at his age. But yeah, that's what we're dealing with. I would just like to have a nice, normal sized daughter who is cool, tranquilo, isn't trying to break everything, just being cute and lovey and just want to be on her daddy all the time. Like, I just want that. I don't want that. I'm tired of buying the new shit 30 times, y'all. I'm tired. Lord, baby Jesus. Thank you very much, Sparky. Even with the flags, bumper stickers, and money, most church members are still skeptical about Israel. Their leadership loves the money, though. Ain't that the truth? And you can't really argue with the leadership, because if you argue with the leadership, that's church drama, and church drama is the worst. One of the reasons I actually don't go to church is because of drama. Like, my friend here is a pastor at a church, and he's dope. He's a really good guy. Actually, we just had a whole conversation about him we had a whole conversation talking about Israel, because his parents went, and not because they like Israel, but because they just were traveling the world, and they had a horrible experience because they thought his parents were Palestinian. They held them up for 3 hours in the airport in Israel, y'all. This is wild. This is like maybe a year and some change ago, but like, no, right before like the whole October 7th shit happened. Like, they held them up in the airport for 3 hours or some shit like that because they thought they were Palestinian. They were Brazilian, but it was a whole thing, bro, for real. So, but he always invites me to the church. I told him I can't go because, one, my son will try to compete with him. My youngest, when he starts giving his speech, yeah, my son starts screaming. He just y'all can't hear him. I had to buy special equipment so y'all can't hear my son in the background. He's screaming for like usually about half of the video if he's not asleep. Y'all just can't hear him. I'm dead. But also, it's just drama, and me being the gringo. Like, everyone will want to talk to me and talk to my wife, and if I don't give them the attention that they want, then it becomes like, oh, why do you want to talk to us? And it's like, I'm just here to hang out and listen to my mans give us oration. And everybody takes it personal, and then it's like people try to speculate about your life, and they have no idea what's going on in your life. You know how that shit. I don't got time for it. I don't got the energy for it, and I wouldn't say I have social anxiety, but me nor my wife like to be in crowded spaces for too long. So it's a whole thing. Did you get an interview from a federal detective? No, it wasn't me who went to Israel. I didn't go to Israel. His parents did. And yes, his parents did get an interview from the federal investigators there. Yeah, they did. It was a whole thing. And it was even worse because, think about it. It isn't like English. They don't speak English. It was worse because they had to basically get someone who could speak Spanish enough for them to understand, because they don't speak Hebrew, obviously. Nobody in that part of the world speaks Portuguese, and Brazilian Portuguese even less so. So, like, it was a whole thing, and they were pissed. They said it basically ruined the trip for them because they were confused as to why they were being treated like that. They're like, bro, we just here on fucking vacation, and they got their visas approved and everything. So it was like, what are y'all doing? Y'all did the background check. No, but we need to hold y'all here for even longer. So it's a whole thing. It was sad. But he was like, yeah, bro. because he already warned them, like, I don't think y'all should go, but all right, they went. I'll tell you this, they ain't going back. They ain't going back, bro. They're not going. But yeah, not every church is like that. That was my point. Is like not every church, not every pastor is like that. His church really focus on community and mutual aid. That's whenever I am out in the street doing mutual aid out here, and I don't record a lot of it. I don't know why. I just feel like it's super weird. I'm not against recording it when you're trying to raise money and stuff like that. So like, please show people when you're doing mutual aid. Be a good example. It's just that I don't do it necessarily when I'm with them and out here, because it just feels weird. I don't know why. I guess even though I live here, it feels like it's like that. What do they call it? Weird tourist activism or something like that. I don't know what you call it. But even though I live here and like it's literally my community, it just feels weird. So maybe one day I'll record some of the stuff, but like I don't like recording people's circumstances, like when they're down on their luck, and then like I'm just like I'm helping them out because I'm not helping them out for video. I'm helping them out because I want to help them out. So that's why people ask me why I don't record more. And if sometimes if I'm with them and they ask me to record something, like, yeah, we take pictures and stuff like that, but not imposter syndrome. It's whenever they like, so whenever like white people go to Africa and take pictures and shit like that and talk about how much they love helping little kids, there was like a word for it, but I can't remember what the word is. But cause it's definitely not imposter syndrome out here. I don't have any type of imposter syndrome out here. I'm overqualified for most things here, and I'm like, being black in Rio is the standard. It is not the exception. So it's a beautiful thing. Honestly, it's cool as shit being black in Rio. When you're black in Brazil, like, you're right at home. You're right at home, bro. It's dope. So I don't really go through imposter syndrome out here. Sparky, no surprise. For real. I get the joke. I'm not gonna talk about that, but I get the joke. But I love Diego because he always is out like, bro, this dude just be making food and just taking it to homeless people. He does so much work, but with his church, they put, because they have like a lot of well-off people at the church, because he's a lawyer, and the work they do, most people don't even know about, right? And like they don't go and determine like whether or not you deserve to eat when you're living on the street. If like, oh man, did you do drugs today? Did you smoke weed today? No, they just go out there, they make a bunch of food. They see somebody who's hungry, they give it to them. They see somebody who needs clothes, they give it to them. They see somebody who needs covers, they give it to them. You get what I'm saying? Like, I love it. Like we help out, the parents and stuff from my kids' soccer team, for soccer team, my coach, give them a place to play at, something to do, make sure that they're not out doing crazy stuff. Like, I love it. I love the work that we do out here. I love the work that he does, and got other friends out here that do that kind of work, and really, I won't say I won't say that I love that they don't advertise it. I love the fact that it's genuine. I know it's genuine because I know that they could probably be showing off and showing how much work they do for Brazilians and the local community, and trying to raise more money to do. And not that I'm sure that they do raise money within the church, but like, they could take advantage of the situation because of how much work they do. And instead they're like, well, we have the ability to do this. We don't need to rely on other people. So which is true in their situation. And so why would we ask for more money from other Brazilians when we can just do it ourselves? And this is because this is our neighborhood. This is our community. Like, that is what we're missing in the US a lot of the times. You have to raise money for mutual aid in the US because, I mean, it's hard. It's hard to do something by yourself if you're not rich. Everything's expensive. The community doesn't come together like they should, so oftentimes you have to get it from outside the community, and things like that. But like I said in the post earlier, because I read something about a man in McDonald's had to leave his 3 kids there for a couple of hours because nobody could watch them, and he had to go to a job interview. And somebody, instead of sitting there and asking the oldest, where's your dad? And the oldest could have explained he's at the job interview. This motherfucker called the police on the dad, and the dad was arrested instead of sitting there and watching the kids. I couldn't believe it. I said, bro, we got a bunch of people living in the same place. We don't have communities in the US anymore. You get what I'm saying? Like, the US doesn't even have communities anymore. You just got a bunch of people living in the same place. It's one of the things I don't. That's like, and it feels like that when you get there. Like, whenever I leave Brazil, I immediately feel like the urge to come back. Like, when I'm visiting the US, I'm like, oh, I just want to go back to Brazil. I just want to go back. So, but yeah, appreciate you guys. Like this video, share this video, support the show. You can become a patron on Patreon. You can subscribe to the channel. You can support me through CashApp. All the links are in the description below. Like, share. Don't forget to subscribe, but always remember more than anything else, find your balance. Peace.